warning sign.
And I am the golfing scientist. Imagine being one of golf's brightest rising stars, only to get trolled by fans, iced out by peers, and ditched by the same institutions that once praised you. He was hailed as a true game changer, a rule breaker who made the old guard nervous. Bryson DeChambeau brought physics, analytics, and cold precision to a sport built on feel and rhythm. And before we go further, subscribe to Golf Swing, the place where golf's wildest stories come alive. They called him the scientist, not for how he talked, but for how he calculated every swing like an engineer solving a wild equation. But somewhere between innovation and obsession, things blew up with fans, fellow pros, and even the PGA Tour. Here's how Bryson DeChambeau became golf's most controversial genius and why no one can ignore him anymore. Not even golf's insiders can agree on him. Some call him a visionary disruptor, others say he's a headache best ignored. Bryson James Aldrich DeChambeau, born in 1993 in Modesto, California, was destined to stand out. His father John, a former golf teaching pro, didn't just teach him swings, he taught him curiosity. From the jump, Bryson's mind worked different. While other kids chased trophies, he chased theories. He didn't just swing clubs, he broke down physics like it was second nature. Every angle, every shaft, every detail had to make sense. While juniors copied their idol stances, Bryson was out here asking wild questions. Why's each iron a different length? Why not make them all the same? Why guess yardage when you can calculate it to the decimal? That curiosity turned into a full-blown obsession. At just 15, Bryson started tweaking his irons so they'd all be the same length. A crazy idea he discovered in a physics book and perfected with his longtime coach Mike Schy. While other teens worried about distance, Bryson was literally building his own system. By the time he hit Southern Methodist University, everyone knew this kid wasn't normal, he was different. Then came 2015, the year everything exploded. Bryson made history by winning both the NCAA Individual Championship and the US Amateur. Something only legends like Jack Nicklaus and Tiger Woods had ever pulled off. He wasn't just a rising star, he was a walking experiment that actually worked. The golf world took notice, but that same curiosity they once admired was about to drive everyone crazy. When Bryson turned pro in 2016, he didn't just show up with big dreams, he rolled in with a toolbox. Every single club in his bag was the same length, each swing backed by numbers, angles, and equations. On the course, he looked less like a golfer and more like a mad scientist testing a live experiment. While most pros trusted their gut and rhythm, Bryson trusted data. Even his old-school flat cap, a nod to Ben Hogan, was one of the few traditional things about him. Everything else screamed rebellion. He was analytical, deliberate, and obsessed, unapologetically chasing perfection down to the decimal. But by 2018 and 2019, that genius energy started rubbing people the wrong way. What fans first called unique now looked extra. His pace? Painfully slow. Taking minutes just to calculate one shot had players fuming and fans booing. The same precision that made him fascinating suddenly made him frustrating. One viral clip from the Northern Trust showed Bryson taking over 2 whole minutes to hit an 8-foot putt. 2 minutes. Fans were losing it. Then Brooks Kepka jumped in, firing shots publicly, saying, "I just don't understand how it takes 1 minute and 20 seconds to hit a golf ball. It's not that hard." Boom, the feud was born. By 2021, things went nuclear. A leaked video of Kepka rolling his eyes as Bryson walked by mid-interview went viral and lit up the internet. Memes exploded and fans took sides fast. Some were cheering, others mocking, and soon tournaments turned into war zones. Crowds started heckling Bryson, yelling Brooksy, just to mess with him. It got so wild the PGA Tour had to step in and officially warn fans to stop using the chant before it turned into chaos. Then came the infamous Red Ants incident during the 2020 WGC FedEx St. Jude Invitational, and wow did that one blow up. Bryson tried to get relief, claiming there were fire ants crawling near his ball, and fans instantly turned it into comedy gold online. Memes, jokes, everything. People accused him of overanalyzing, dramatizing, and turning golf into a science project. But Bryson stood firm, defending his methods in interviews, saying his slow process wasn't about stalling, it was about precision. Every variable mattered, every grain of grass counted. Still, the label stuck. The world now saw him as that guy. Dramatic, difficult, and way too intense. Then came the body transformation. In late 2019, Bryson decided to rebuild himself from the ground up, not just his game, but his body. He packed on over 40 pounds of muscle in under a year, living on protein shakes and crushing the gym like a man possessed. Why did he do it? To become the longest driver on tour. That's what everyone thought, and it raised plenty of eyebrows. Commentators laughed, players doubted, and fans couldn't tell if he was a genius or just going off the rails. But then came the 2020 US Open at Winged Foot, where Bryson flipped the entire script. He started bombing drives so far the rest of the field looked shocked. Fairways didn't matter. Raw power did. By the end, he stood as the only player under par, silencing every critic with a trophy in hand. He didn't just win the US Open, he proved his madness had method. It was a loud, undeniable message. Science, strength, and precision could outplay instinct and tradition. But with every victory, the backlash grew louder, because Bryson wasn't just playing golf anymore. He was changing it forever. He was forcing everyone to rethink who really gets to define how the game should be played. In most sports, winning buys you grace, time, respect, and even forgiveness. But for Bryson DeChambeau, that US Open win didn't calm the storm. It fed it. By 2021, the entire narrative had flipped. He wasn't the quirky genius anymore or the lovable mad scientist. Nope, he became the guy people loved to hate. Crowds taunted him, social media clowned him, and players either kept their mouths shut or quietly sided with Cobra. The energy around him turned toxic fast. And Bryson? He didn't exactly help himself. Sure, he had moments of honesty and insight in interviews, but those glimpses got buried under awkward comments and defensive rants. Every word he said seemed to spark another headline, and suddenly, golf's golden disruptor looked more like its biggest villain. It all blew up when Bryson blamed a bad drive on his equipment. After a rough round at the Open in 2021, he told reporters, "The driver sucks," straight up calling out his own club. That one line sent shockwaves through golf. His sponsor Cobra Golf wasn't having it. Their tour operations manager clapped back publicly, saying, "It's just really painful when he says something that stupid." The drama was off the charts. Bryson's attitude started rubbing everyone the wrong way. The same intensity people once called passion now looked like ego. Fans couldn't relate anymore. He seemed distant, defensive, and too deep in his own world. By the end of 2021, Bryson wasn't just a golfer, he was a headline machine, trending for all the wrong reasons. But the wildest part, his biggest controversy, the one that would shake golf to its core, was still coming. Then came the LIV Golf defection, the final straw that split golf in half. In 2022, Bryson made a move that sent shockwaves through the entire sport, shattering his already fragile relationship with the PGA Tour. He signed with LIV Golf, the Saudi-backed league, promising huge checks, fewer events, and a fresh new format that turned tradition upside down. Reports said Bryson's deal topped $100 million, life-changing money. For some, it was just business. But for die-hard fans and golf purists, it felt like betrayal, like he'd sold out the game's soul for cash. The PGA Tour didn't hold back either. Commissioner Jay Monahan dropped the hammer, announcing that every player who joined LIV Golf would be suspended indefinitely. Overnight, Bryson went from PGA prodigy to rebel outcast, a walking headline with a 9-figure target on his back. Some of Bryson's sponsors started backing off fast. His media visibility shrank, and PGA broadcasts barely mentioned his name unless they absolutely had to. It wasn't an official silencing, it was worse, a cold, quiet freeze-out. But Bryson didn't blink. He brushed it off, saying the move gave him more time to invest in myself and the things that matter. Still, everyone knew the truth. The public narrative had flipped again. Now he wasn't just the disruptor, he was the defector, the guy who walked away from golf's old empire. Yet by 2023, Bryson began piecing his image back together. His way. His YouTube channel, which he'd started in 2020, exploded into a golf hub loaded with training insights, club comparisons, and insane personal challenges. Over 1 million subscribers tuned in. Not for controversy this time, but for the raw, unfiltered side of Bryson the world had never seen before. By 2023, Bryson wasn't just breaking down golf for physics geeks anymore. He was entertaining fans, pulling them in with humor, energy, and style. Then came his massive competitive comeback that August. Bryson stormed back into form, winning his first LIV Golf event, and just weeks later he doubled down with another victory in Chicago. He was back, stronger and louder than ever. Then came the 2024 PGA Championship, and Bryson made a statement the world couldn't ignore. Even though he was still banned from the PGA Tour, he was eligible for the majors and nearly took one home, finishing just a single shot behind Xander Schauffele. When he walked up the 18th, the crowd rose to its feet, cheering the man they once booed. If anyone still doubted his credibility, that moment shut them all up for good. After Pinehurst, Bryson didn't just reclaim his spot, he redefined it. The same guy once called a weirdo and a show-off was suddenly back on top, smiling like he'd cracked the code. But this wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about peace. Bryson started showing a calmer side, less defensive, more grounded, and finally in control of his own story. He began opening up about faith, focus, and balance, things fans had never heard from him before. That combination of confidence and humility started winning people over again. The internet wasn't mocking him this time. They were rooting for him. He wasn't just the scientist, now he was the comeback king. But the story didn't end with a trophy. Bryson's rise from villain to victor sparked a new debate. Had golf finally changed? Fans began asking if the sport had room for individuality again. His blend of analytics and power reshaped what players believed possible. Younger golfers started copying his training routines, even experimenting with single-length clubs just like he did years ago. What once made him an outsider now made him an inspiration. Bryson had turned criticism into a movement, showing that the future of golf wasn't about fitting in, it was about standing out. That's the kind of legacy few ever reach. And yet, Bryson's story isn't just about numbers, physics, or distance. It's about resilience. Every setback became a stepping stone. Every insult turned into motivation. He didn't silence critics with words. He answered them with results. From being mocked for slow play and muscle gain to standing tall with 2 majors, Bryson proved that belief beats approval every single time. His journey reminded the world that greatness isn't always polished. Sometimes it's messy, misunderstood, and loud. And maybe that's exactly what golf needed, a little chaos to wake it up. So now the question isn't whether Bryson belongs, it's how far he'll go next. Will he chase more majors, break new records, or reinvent the game all over again? One thing's certain, love him or hate him, golf hasn't seen anyone quite like Bryson DeChambeau. From science to scandal to ultimate redemption, his story's still being written, and you better believe the next chapter's gonna be wild. Don't forget to like, share, and comment your take down below, and hit subscribe to Golf Swing so you don't miss the next big twist in golf's craziest comeback story.